In the poorest region of Germany lives a boy named Tim Thaler. Despite his humble life and having lost his mother years ago, the boy always has a smile on his face, which is contagious to everyone around him. Tim has a best friend named Ida, the daughter of a baker, and often goes with his father, Hans, to watch horse races. Although he has bet several times, Hans has never won, but he promises his son that soon they will have enough money to eat at a fancy restaurant. One morning, Tim goes to have a snack at the bakery when suddenly his father introduces him to his new partner Lydia and her son Erwin. Tim doesn't like this at all, and when the two move into his house, Erwin demands to have the top shelf in the bedroom. The problem is that it holds a cardboard castle that Tim's mother made for him when he was a baby. Even so, Erwin insists on keeping the shelf, so he throws the castle on the floor and starts stomping on it. Tim becomes enraged and attacks his stepbrother, but Erwin retaliates with a punch to his face. This only makes Tim angrier, and he begins to curse at Erwin, who goes to tell his mother everything, pretending to be sad about how his stepbrother treated him. Lydia not only believes her son, but also forces Tim to apologize to Erwin, and tells Hans everything. After this scolding, Tim returns to the bakery to meet Ida, and invites her to go to the movies together. During the screening, the boy starts laughing, and everyone else does the same, which catches the attention of a mysterious man in a suit and sunglasses. Unaware that they are being watched, the two friends finish watching the movie and return home. Another day passes and Tim and his father go to watch more horse races, with Hans betting on a horse named Sherlock Holmes. To his surprise, the horse is the big winner of the race, but when he goes to collect his winnings, Hans receives only a coin in exchange. Still, he decides to buy a meal at the luxury hotel with the coin, but the receptionist won't let them in because of their humble clothes. Hans is furious, but for his son's sake, he just ignores it, and the two return home after another fun afternoon together. Unfortunately, while working on the construction site, Hans is hit by a beam that mysteriously falls, and he ends up perishing. Since he left no assets, the funeral is humble, and not even a tombstone with his name is placed next to the coffin. Tim cannot accept this and tries to take flowers from another gravestone to decorate his father's grave, but his stepmother stops him and tells him to behave. Furious, Tim runs away without a destination and cries for the loss of his father and best friend. Not knowing where he is going, the boy ends up at the racetrack and sees a coin lying on the ground. As soon as he picks it up, the same mysterious man from the cinema appears and convinces the boy to use it to place a bet. Tim replies that children are not allowed to bet, but the man says he has taken care of everything and advises him to choose the horse named Westwinder. Tim then decides to bet on it, even though he believes it will not win, but to his surprise, the horse comes in first. After the race, the boy goes to the counter to collect his money and cries when he realizes that he has fulfilled his father's great dream, but his father is no longer around. Seeing the boy sad, a couple who introduce themselves as Behemoth and Belial try to help him calm down. They also advise him to keep the betting money safe, or someone might steal it. Behemoth then teaches him to hide the bills in a handkerchief and put them safely in his coat pocket. Tim thanks them for their help, takes the handkerchief back, and heads home. When he meets the man with sunglasses again, he scolds him for losing the money, and when he checks the handkerchief, Tim realizes that he has been tricked by the couple, and instead of bills, all he finds are newspaper clippings. Despite this, the man, who introduces himself as Baron Lafayette, the richest man in the world, gives him another coin so he can bet again. Tim obeys, and the next day, he returns to the racetrack, but ends up arriving early and the betting has not yet begun. While waiting, the boy ends up falling asleep on the bench, giving Belial and Behemoth the chance to rob him once again, taking his only coin. Minutes later, Tim is awakened by the Baron, who tells him to hurry up, as the bets are almost over. However, the boy cannot find his coin, and without it, his chances of winning back his money are lost. Lafayette then offers him a new deal, so that he will never lose a bet again in his life. In exchange, the boy must sell something very valuable, nothing less than his laughter. Tim believes it's all a joke, but the Baron takes a contract out of his pocket, and if the boy signs it, he won't have to worry about money ever again. Even though he is skeptical, Tim signs the contract, and at that moment, his face becomes completely serious. The boy then places the bet, and as promised in the contract, he chooses the winning horse and receives the prize without expressing any joy. The boy continues to think the contract is a scam, and with the money from the bet, he invites Ida to go to the movies again. However, while everyone enjoys the movie, including Ida, Tim is unable to show any reaction. Meanwhile, the Baron returns smiling to his office, where it is revealed that Behemoth and Belial are employees of his company. His intentions are a mystery, but he orders the two to watch over Tim, as he intends to use his luck in betting for his evil plans. To prevent the boy from recognizing them, the Baron uses his magic and turns Belial and Behemoth into mice. Back at the cinema, Ida notices that her friend is acting strangely and asks him what happened, but Tim just changes the subject and buys balloons as a gift for her. Ida asks where he got the money, and to prevent her from discovering his secret, Tim makes up a story, saying he stole it from the city senator. Despite the absurd story, the boy's serious expression makes Ida believe it, and she returns to the bakery, where she tells her mother everything. The problem is that one of the customers overhears the story, and soon the rumor that Tim robbed the senator spreads throughout the city. As soon as the boy arrives home, his stepmother already knows the story, and Erwin finds Tim's money inside his coat. Lydia then threatens to punish the boy, but before that, Ida's mother goes to their house and tells them that Tim didn't steal from anyone. The police confirm that no crime was committed, and then the boy reveals that he won the money from a bet on a horse race. With everything explained, the stepmother forgives Tim and decides to keep the money, but the boy is hurt by Ida for spreading the rumor. The two stop talking to each other, but Tim puts it aside and decides to take advantage of his luck to get more money. He soon calls his schoolmates and bets with them on marbles games. Magically, he wins every bet, but this only makes the other boys believe that he is cheating, and they avoid being around him. Things only get worse when Ida goes to Tim's house, bringing a cake with an apology. However, she only finds Lydia and Erwin at the house, and the two take the cake and eat it all without telling Tim about his friend's visit. Meanwhile, the boy continues to place his bets, which makes Lydia curious about all this luck. She then decides to take Tim and Erwin to the horse race to confirm whether he is really capable of winning the bets. Finally, she asks Tim to bet on the race, and the three wait for the result, with the horse chosen by the boy being the big winner. Unable to believe what has happened, the stepmother takes the money and tells the boys to leave, as she is afraid that someone might steal it. However, Erwin insists that they continue betting, and Tim says that next time, he will be able to double the prize money. Lydia then lets him choose the next horse, but as soon as the race starts, the chosen horse begins to fall behind and finishes the race in 4th place. Erwin and his mother despair and begin to blame Tim for losing all the prize money. However, immediately afterwards, the narrator announces that the first 3 horses have been disqualified, and with that, Tim wins again, leaving everyone around him impressed. His stepmother wastes no time and takes all the money, but Tim doesn't care about that, he just wishes his father were there. He then continues walking alone and sees the same hotel where Hans wanted to take him to eat. When he sees the boy, Kreshimir, one of the receptionists, invites him in, saying that he has heard about his talent for gambling. The man then challenges Tim to a card game to test if he is really as lucky as they say. Tim accepts and bets Kreshimir that he will get a job at the hotel, as he wants to earn his own money and get rid of his stepmother. The man accepts, and as soon as the two close the deal, Yvonne, the hotel owner, says she needs an elevator operator. With that, the boy gets a job, and during the night, he decides to quit gambling for good. In addition, he leaves a farewell note for Lydia and Erwin, saying that he has found a job and is going to live elsewhere. On his way to the hotel, the boy passes in front of the bakery, and Ida runs to talk to him. Seeing that he is moving, the girl tries to rekindle their friendship and asks if he liked the cake, but Tim doesn't know what she's talking about and says he's late for work. As soon as the boy leaves, Ida returns to the bakery crying, when suddenly she comes across the Baron sitting at the table. Ida calls for her mother, who has suddenly fallen asleep, but the Baron says he came to talk to the girl because he knows how to help her with her problem. He says he knows about Ida's feelings for Tim and can bring him back, as long as the two make a deal. Meanwhile, Tim starts his work at the hotel and asks the staff about the Baron, as he wants to talk to him and get his laugh back at any cost. However, no one knows where he is, and the boy continues with his work when he sees 2 maids going to talk to Yvonne. They show him a bucket containing 2 rats, Behemoth and Belial, who have invaded the hotel to watch over Tim. The hotel owner promptly orders the 2 to get rid of the rats, but Tim offers to do it himself and takes them outside. Instead of eliminating them, the boy lets them go, and this gesture of kindness surprises the rats, who begin to question their actions against Tim. Back at the hotel, the boy takes another look at the copy of the contract he signed and finds a clause regarding contract termination. According to the clause, if Tim loses a bet, the deal will be cancelled, and the boy will finally have his laughter back. Seeing a chance to get out of the agreement, Tim meets with Kreshimir and challenges him to another bet. The boy says that Baron Lafayette will visit the hotel the next day, but Kreshimir doesn't believe it will happen and accepts the bet. As expected, seconds later, the receptionist receives a call announcing the Baron's arrival to stay at the hotel. Because of this, Yvonne mobilizes the entire team to clean the place and prepare a beautiful banquet in honor of the new guest. The news that the Baron is coming to the hotel quickly catches the attention of the entire upper class, who will also welcome him there. Finally, Baron Lafayette shows up and leaves his bags in the room, with Tim taking this opportunity to take him to the elevator. There, he asks the man to cancel the contract, but the Baron warns him that the only way Tim can do that is by losing a bet. However, due to the effects of the contract, this will be impossible, as Tim's luck in betting is permanent. Finally, the Baron leaves the elevator, but first he takes off his glasses, showing the boy his new blue eyes. Upon seeing them, Tim notices a striking resemblance to Ida's eyes, and fearing that something has happened to her, he decides to go to the bakery. To get there faster, he calls Kreshimir for another bet, saying he will arrive at the bakery in a few minutes. The man accepts, and again Tim wins, earning a ride to the bakery. Shortly after, the boy arrives at the bakery and goes to Ida's room, which is completely dark. Ida is happy to see Tim, saying that the bet with the Baron worked and they can be friends again. However, Tim notices that Ida's eyes have a strange yellowish color, and the girl can only see in the dark. Seeing that the Baron has exchanged his eyes for Ida's, Tim uses his luck to make another bet, assuring his friend that she will be able to get her eyes back. He then reaches out his hand to Ida, who, upon accepting, feels discomfort in her eyes, which return to their natural form. At that very moment, the Baron was at the hotel, about to give a speech, when suddenly he feels a severe headache. Behemoth and Belial go to their boss to see what is happening, with the Baron revealing that he has lost his eyes, thanks to Tim. Back at Ida's house, the girl is happy to have her vision back and thanks Tim with a hug. However, the boy is still unable to laugh, and rushes back to the hotel to confront the Baron. But when he arrives, the man has already left with the other guests, and Yvonne asks Tim to help tidy up the place. Shortly after, Kreshimir goes to talk to the boy, saying he is amazed at how he manages to win every bet. However, he suspects that all this luck has to do with the fact that Tim always has a serious and sad expression on his face. Tim then tells Kreshimir the truth about the bet he made with Baron Lafayette. Now, his only chance to smile is by losing a bet, thus completely breaking the contract. This story intrigues Kreshimir, and after finishing work, he goes to the boy's room and says he has thought of a plan. He suggests making a new bet, this time with Tim claiming that he is richer than the richest man in the world. Kreshimir's idea is to make the boy contradict himself, making it impossible for Tim to win and ending the contract. The boy agrees to do this, but when he shakes hands with Kreshimir, nothing happens, and he remains unable to smile. Even so, Tim thanks him for the gesture and goes to sleep, while Kreshimir returns to the bar to finish his shift. He continues to think about the contract and writes the Baron's name on a handkerchief, but when he looks at the reflection of the name on a bottle, he notices something strange. The name Lafayette, when spelled backwards, is similar to the German word for devil. This discovery frightens Kreshimir, and soon after, the hotel suffers a momentary power outage. As soon as the lights come back on, Kreshimir takes the elevator to talk to Yvonne, but another power outage occurs, trapping him inside. Suddenly, Kreshimir's reflection begins to disappear in the elevator mirror, and then a shadow-like entity attacks him. Nearby, Tim continues to sleep, but is awakened by a group of security guards, who order the boy to accompany them. The men say that Baron Lafayette perished during the night and left Tim as his sole heir. Seeing the boy being taken away, Yvonne tries to stop the security guards, but she finds Kreshimir unconscious in the elevator and rushes to help him. Hours later, Tim is taken to the Baron's house, where a luxurious room has been prepared for the boy to spend the night. With no other choice, Tim falls asleep, and the next morning, he goes to the living room, where he finds Baron Lafayette still alive. The man reveals that he faked his perishment and assumed the identity of a supposed twin brother to leave his inheritance to the boy. With that, he ceased to be the richest man in the world and passed everything on to Tim, causing the boy to win the bet he made with Kreshimir. Along with this, the Baron reveals himself to be an evil entity who negotiates with other humans in exchange for what is most important to them. The Baron has several employees at his service, and he uses his power to create problems around the world, offering solutions in exchange for something valuable. Upon discovering the truth, Tim says he will not accept staying with him and demands his laughter back. However, the Baron again explains the clause in the contract to him, and then he crosses a portal through the mirror and returns to his company. Once there, the Baron reunites with Behemoth and Belial and informs them that Tim is at his house. Now, his goal is to force the boy to make more bets, because with each one, Tim loses part of his soul, and will soon be the Baron's successor. His first step is to bring Lydia and Erwin to Tim, and once there, the two waste no time and ask for his help to earn more money. Under the Baron's influence, Tim decides to take revenge on his stepmother and half-brother by making more bets to get them kicked out of the house. Not only that, He also bets that the two will be attacked by a swarm of bees, which pleases the Baron, who encourages the boy to punish them even more. However, Tim refuses, as he still retains part of his humanity and will not risk their lives or anyone else's. Even so, the Baron does not give up and warns the boy that if he really wants to protect other people, he must stay away from them, especially his friends. Even though he knows he will have to stay away from the people he cares about, especially Ida, Tim agrees to keep his distance. However, Ida ends up reading a newspaper article about the boy becoming the richest man in the world and goes to the mansion to talk to him. Once there, Tim tries to keep his distance and only asks the girl to make a bet with him for the recovery of his friend Kreshimir. Ida accepts, and as soon as the two join hands, Kreshimir wakes up in a bed at the hotel, being cared for by Yvonne. After saving his friend, Tim tells Ida to leave, saying he doesn't need her friendship and is better off living comfortably in a mansion. These words hurt Ida, and she leaves, with the Baron laughing with satisfaction, as his plan is going according to plan. Now there is one more step left, and the villain begins to spread posters with Tim's photo, announcing a betting championship in his name. The next morning, the whole town goes to the racetrack to bet, with the money raised being given to a group of orphaned children. These same children are organized into a choir, and they perform a tribute to Tim Toller for his donation. However, it is all part of the Baron's plan to further corrupt Tim's soul through gambling. Finally, he takes the boy to the racetrack, and during the performance, he notices another boy who has a smile as contagious as Tim's. The Baron then tells Tim to make a bet with this boy in exchange for his laughter. That way, Tim will be able to smile again, while the orphan will be used by the Baron to get another successor. With his soul almost taken, Tim agrees to obey the Baron, but unbeknownst to him, Ida and Kreshimir also show up at the event. When they see Tim in the bandstand, Ida tries to call him over to talk, but is stopped by Behemoth and Belial. The girl begs them to help her talk to Tim, because somehow he is being controlled by the Baron. This reminds Belial of how the boy saved her life, and for the first time, she decides to disobey her master and convinces Behemoth to do the same. The two then take advantage of a moment of distraction by Baron Lafayette and take Tim under the bandstand. Inside, the boy reunites with Kreshimir and Ida, with the girl revealing that she already knows the whole truth and proposing a new bet. Ida then claims that Tim is incapable of smiling and extends her hand for him to accept the bet to the contrary. If he does so, his luck will make him win, and then Tim will be able to laugh again, thus breaking the contract. However, Tim does not accept the bet, as his soul is already almost lost, and he is overcome by greed. At that very moment, the Baron realizes that the boy is gone and orders his followers to find him at all costs. His fury causes a violent storm, and upon hearing the Baron's voice, Tim decides to return to him. However, Ida does not give up and tells her friend a joke she used to tell him when they were younger. Remembering the past, Tim regains his conscience, and Ida offers him the bet again. But before he can make a decision, the Baron appears at the gate, ordering Tim to come with him. However, thanks to Ida, the boy is free from his control and accepts his friend's bet, generating a powerful energy that sends the Baron away. After that, the storm disappears, and Tim, now free from the agreement, hugs his friend in gratitude, managing to smile after so long. The two then leave, along with Kreshimir, when they encounter the Baron, looking aged and weakened. In a last attempt, he begins to cry, and his tears turn into diamonds, which he offers to the kids. However, Tim refuses the offer, and Belial and Behemoth appear shortly after, saying they will protect the boy from his master. Seeing that he cannot face them all, the Baron leaves, but first, he transforms the couple back into rats. Now that they are free from the villain, Tim and Ida return to their humble street, taking the two rats with them as their new guests. From that day on, Tim now lives with Ida and her mother in the bakery, certain that it doesn't take fortune and easy money to smile at life. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.